EDU 330, Principles of Physical Education, Week 10, The Importance of Active Learning. Active learning has proven its value through the research. The MI, Multiple Intelligences, Inventory. Take the survey from Edutopia. There's a web link. There's also a link in Blackboard. Take the inventory and save your results for your e-portfolio. Stop right now and take the quiz. Don't forget to post your results and complete the Multiple Intelligences blog in Blackboard. We're going to talk about physical education in the classroom, lesson planning, academic and cultural integration, multiple intelligences, special education, and diversity. Here we go. Active learning. They've known this style of learning has worked for a very long time. Here's our old guy Confucius said this back in, hung around between 551 and 497 BC. That was a long time ago, so they know that this type of learning has worked for a long time. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. And this is attributed to Confucius, a philosopher and reformer from 551 BC to 479 BC. The terms integrated and interdisciplinary are often used interchangeably. They are defined as an educational process in which two or more subject areas are integrated with a goal of fostering enhanced learning in each subject area. That was from Cohn, 1998. There are 3 questions to ask when writing lesson plans. What learning objectives from the classroom unit will be enhanced through active learning experiences in the gymnasium? That's Westerholden 2000. What concepts are being studied that could better be explained or experienced through a physical movement activity? What concepts are being studied that overlap with physical education terminology? Those are 3 questions to ask when you're building an active learning lesson. You're going to put the brakes on it again. Go to the Questions to Ask blog and write a 500 to 700 word reflection on the 3 questions to ask. What are you thinking about those 3 questions when you're looking at them to write your lesson plans? With more details in Blackboard. Research indicates how we remember best. This is Foth from 1990. Research long ago before computers. People retain 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see. But wait, we stopped at 30%. People retain 50% of what they hear and say at the same time. So repeating things actually helps. 70% of what they hear, see, and say. 90% of what they hear, see, say, and do. Like that hairdo on that last kid right there. Okay, read this with me. Research indicates how we remember best. That's Foth in 1990. People retain 10% of what they read. You're doing that right now. 20% of what they hear. You're doing that right now too. 30% of what you see. You're doing that right now too. 50% of what they hear and say. If you're repeating it with me, you're doing that. Now 70% of what they hear, see, and say. Now if you hook that up with the pictures I showed you before, everybody should be at 70% retention of what I just presented. We didn't actually have you do anything because it's kind of tough to do a presentation. But you can get to your 70% retention pretty quick by just taking a little more attention to writing your lesson plans. Brain-based learning. Brain research in the area of learning confirms that the learning process can be enhanced through physical activity. And that was from Jensen in 2000. More brain-based learning. We're not even keeping this to one study. We're going through the decade, so to speak. This is from Hannaford in 1995. Exercise juices up the brain, feeding it nutrients in the form of a glucose and increasing nerve connections, all of which make it easier for kids of all ages to learn. And again, That was Hannaford in 1995. The brain gym, midline movements. That means you're crossing the midline. Midline movements are movements that help stimulate both sides of the hemispheres of the brain at the same time. A quick Google search will give you a lot of good ideas that don't take a lot of time and don't need any equipment. More brain gym, midline movement. You can actually do this when a guy's doing a push-up and he has 50-pound dumbbells in each hand. You don't really need the dumbbells. You can actually just have them pick up one arm and trade off from right arm to left arm. A movement on the right side of the body activates the left side of the brain, whereas movements on the left side of the body activates the right side of the brain. It gets those cross neurons working, and it helps them later on in concentration. Brain gym midline. One more time. A movement on the right side of the body activates the left side of the brain, whereas a movement on the left side of the body activates the right side of the brain. You can do this with thumb exercises. You can Google thumb exercises and they'll give you a whole bunch of videos and stuff that will help out. Curriculum integration occurs in two ways. Movement is included in the classroom curriculum. Have the kids start when you're think of a way to have the kids start moving in the classroom to help them with their academic subject. Academic subjects, which is the classroom curriculum, are included in the physical education curriculum. See how you can make those connections. One way can be dancing. Check this one out. This is always pretty fun. Academic subjects are included in physical curriculum. Explaining the physics of a parachute during PE. Force resistance. This is all a Newton's law that you can explain to them in PE. Pretty cool. And the kids really fun too. Kids really like this. Done it at least once a year. Students benefit from integrated movement. Movement improves circulation. You can get them even just moving their arms and their shoulders, sitting in their chairs. That's going to help them out. It's going to get more of their blood pumping through their body and more blood up and then oxygen up to their brain. Movement increases oxygen supply to the brain. Like that graphic? Oxygen to the brain. Benefits from integrated movement. Children like recognition. They like the challenge. They like having fun. They like the relationship that they build in activities. And they like a little bit of competition. Not hardcore competition, not a death competition, but they like competing to see if they can answer things quicker than the other kid. This movement encourages the natural body motivators. And that's what these 5 things are. They're motivating to the student to be active and to keep thinking. This one actually goes back to one of Newton's laws. I'll let you figure out which one. Movement reduces the amount of time spent sitting. If a movement stays at rest, it takes a lot to get that mass moving again. So we keep them moving, I think they'll be a little bit happier. Students benefit from integrated movement. Movement discourages passive learning. Movement pins down thought. It gets them to focus a little bit more. Movement anchors thought. Once they have that thought in their mind, they're going like, and they remember it a little bit longer. Movement generates interest. Something different can stir the child's mind, and they'll by thinking, turn their thinking to something else, and something that interests them, even though it may not be what you're talking about, which happens a lot. Movement maintains a mind-body state, that your mind is making your body move, and there's that connection, and kids don't really like it.